Romano, born Auburn, New York, 1930. And rather late in life, he opened a restaurant, Italian restaurant in Leon Springs, Texas. Anyone ever hear of it? I haven't. He called it Macaroni's. And it did okay. They served good food. Service was pretty good. But they had a problem that every single restaurant in America has, and that is every Monday and Tuesday, why even bother opening the doors? There are no customers. You have to pay staff, you have your leasing costs, your overhead costs, but there are no customers, except Phil Romano studied psychology when he was in college. And he learned something in Psych 1 he never forgot. Random rewards equal predictable results. Random rewards equal predictable results. And one day on this Monday and Tuesday night, a few customers were in there. At the end of the meal, they received a letter personally signed by Phil Romano. It said, "Here at Macaroni's, we consider our customers our guests. And it would be awkward to charge our guests for having a good time." Can you imagine the look on every one of those customers' face? What? It's free? He also mentioned that one Monday or Tuesday every single month, forever, customers would be getting that same letter. Now you can imagine the response of those customers. They couldn't wait to go home. Most of them from San Antonio. They couldn't wait to get home and tell their neighbors, "You're not going to believe what just happened at this restaurant." Well, after word of mouth got out, next Monday, place was filled. Tuesday after, you had to wait an hour to get a table. And the Monday after that, and the Tuesday after that, and the Monday after that, and the Tuesday after that. But one time, every month, on a Monday or a Tuesday, they received the same letter. That's what I call leading with your left leg. See, a few years later, he sold that business to Brinker International for $23 million, founded Fuddruckers, and became a billionaire. It's amazing the dent you can make in the universe when you lead with your left foot. Al Paramito of Medshifts knows a bit about leading with his left foot. You see, he decided to write a children's book. That was all. But a very specific children's book, targeting the developmental issues of young girls between the ages of 8 and 12. This is a subject matter nobody tackles, no one writes about, no one wants to touch it. It's way too difficult. There are way too many issues, and it's avoided like the plague. But Al Paramito did not avoid it. He wrote the book, which begged for a video, which meant the press got hold of this and said, "We want to see a second book, and a third book, and a second video, and a third video." And all of a sudden, much like J.K. Rowling, he doesn't have a book in his hands. He has a media company on his hands. He never expected it to happen. But that's exactly what happens when you lead with your left foot. As Joab would say, a man with balls. Get up here, Al.
Well, first and foremost, let me thank Steve, because every time I called Steve or emailed him, he was always very gracious in answering my phone calls and inviting me here today. So he does a great job. I will personally thank you for the courteous and the platform here for everybody to come here. Yeah, Steve mentioned I started this with no indication of having a business out of it. It was it formulated from a story that J&J executive told us when she was very young, had childhood leukemia. And she told us about the traumatic event she went through as being bullied and being overweight and going through chemo, losing her hair. And all these traumatic events went through her and emotionally scarred her at a young age. And so like anything, that sparked an interest of myself to really take it to the next level and go down the rabbit hole and research more. So we went to cancer camps, we met with other children in schools, we met with teachers, and we sort of had this pattern of where that segment of the population, especially girls that are developing. If you remember back in the time, it was actually during the time when there was a lot of sexual discrimination against women in the media and also in Silicon Valley. So there's a lot of things that happened that sort of catapulted this forward, and this was 2 years ago. So now what we came up with as a platform after writing this book, which took us from start to finish about 2 years, we have a portfolio of digital products that we can launch into the marketplace and spark more of an interest. So who are we and what we do? Nudie Media actually straddles two areas of the industry. So it straddles an entertainment industry and an education industry. So what we do is we combine these two together, and it's called edutainment. And typically back in the 90s, that was more or less dictated by companies that have physical presence, like a Kidzania or a Legoland or a Franklin Institute, where kids would go and explore STEM. So what we did here is we took it more to the next level, usually as a global platform where we can actually bring in real-world environment and also digital media content for them. So we are going to be a digital global entertainment streaming platform for learning and entertainment. So here's the market size, and I'm going to basically go from a macro level to a micro level to our audience. So I want to just take it from this point on. So what we have here right now is we're 25% of the global population of entertainment. The entertainment industry right now for this segment, or edutainment, we would discuss, is only a $2.5 billion industry right now. It's growing to $11.3 billion. Digital learning right now is also trending at $7.9 billion. It's going to be a $17.9 billion growth company in 2026. One thing you probably want to look at is there's some kind of overlap here. This is sort of it straddles both areas of interest, so e-learning and digital entertainment. So we believe we're the gray area in between these areas here. So you still have a global growth, blended growth, about 25% year-over-year growth on this, and basically a total market size of between $10 and $29 billion. And so that's where the current global market's at right now with it. We are actually in this area where Steve mentioned, the 8 to 12-year-old range, and you can see actually that's a big part of the global population of children, boys and girls. So we're in this area here, right? So we're about, let's say we're $1 billion, a billion people of our population. Total is 1.9 billion between girls and boys. So here's how the current macro drivers are in the current marketplace. Right now, if you have children in school, they're getting laptops, right? A lot of kids, my kids have laptops. They don't have those big bags anymore. So that reason why they have that is because there's an initiative by the Ever Student Success Act that was initiated, which funds actually 3 million Chromebooks out there right now. And that's one of the drivers and macros of shifting between paper to digital. Now, the US ranking, of course, we're not doing very well, 31%, 31 ranking in math, 20th in reading, 19 in science. So we have a lot of ways to improve ourselves. But what really we want to look at is how kids learn, and what really grabs their attention. Gamification right now is a really big subject matter for children and all around all areas. And now they're slowly bringing that into effect with learning games, right? So gaming technology is now a subject matter for more interaction with children and students and teachers. So public schools now spend around $3 billion on just digital content alone, which is really growing nicely. There's a lot of social acceptance of diversity and trending, as you mentioned. So that's really a great top of mind, and you'll see where we capture that in our content. So, augmented reality, that's still it's a slow space growing. Probably Magic Leap is probably one of the players in that area. Classroom devices, as I mentioned, Chromebooks. They're reinventing the actual learning space with digital blackboards. AI is also trending. So there's a lot of customization going on, and of course gamification where we're going to be at as well. So where are we at in the US market now? This is designates the actual whole education market in the United States. It's a huge market, right? A lot of barriers to entry to get to schools and those areas to actually implement that. But where we're at is right now, where we're at is a children's fictional book category, which is about $2 billion category, right? And if we had to even cascade that even further down, where exactly as our audience is at, it's right here. It's at 15.1 million students aged 9 to 12, okay? And most children, as I like to learn, we learn through storytelling. You know, we are actually creatures of habit, so it's natural for us to look at this. But the entire population of children is about 82 million in the United States at this point in time. So where's the problem with learning and entertainment, right? So and what we're focused on, as Steve mentioned, we're focused on a very narrow gap that's been there's been a gap in publication, a gap in focus within this girl-centric children's books. So we looked at that and we said, okay, well, what's the cause of all this? So out in the marketplace, out of all the publications that are being printed for children's books, only about 33% are girl-centric. I mean, you see women in the room, you might hear Judy Blume was books back in the day, still writing those, but nothing really has been added to that category. Now the category is slowly moving in that direction because of trending demographics and trending social economic measures, but diversity is also another matter. So there's not a lot of diversity in books. So we don't have a lot of African American books out there. So only 28% of the publications for books are diversified. So ultimately what happens when you don't have this infrastructure for children to learn, especially little girls, is that you have about 11% of physicians and astronomers are only women, right? 10% are electrical and computer hardware engineers, 7.9% are mechanical engineers. And this is where Silicon Valley was actually talking about the lack of female engineers, because there was a lot of childhood development in that category. So girls in STEM wasn't something that we ever talked about. We told boys they can do more so than that. K to L, K to 12 learning, teachers, children are bored right now. The old system of learning is pretty much broken. Kids want to have more of an experience, a lifetime experience, and that's where we want to focus our attention. So the middle elderly reader area, 6 to 12 years old, parents are the decision makers process. In our first launch of our first book, right now, top line is 43% of revenue all comes from print books still today, even though it's all digital. We have 27% total online retailers revenue are due from ebook sales, and only 10% are from audio. But audio is actually trending much faster than print. It's at 43%. So when I show you what we're doing, we actually create each of these categories for our content. So it's a hot category. It's probably the fastest growing middle grade learning category out there. So what we practice in our content creation is called realistic fiction. So realistic fiction is taking reality, like in our book, it's about Princeton University's campus, and injecting fictional processes and storytelling around it. So children has a real world sense of the surroundings around them, like AR or VR, but it has a story behind it that they can actually explore on their own. So it's an in-between between fiction and nonfiction. So our solution was really simple. Just create an e-game or an edutainment company with a three-tiered approach of entertainment and learning. So first and foremost, every great film, every great piece of content always starts with a publicized book. You always hear like these great novels, even Game of Thrones start off as a book. So publication of searching and creating good content to test the market out before you go forward in investing a lot of money into other platforms is essential, right? So, but we have to have a platform from the go-to. We have Amazon, you have Ingram Press, you have all these other platforms which are great. But we want more of an experience for the child going forward. So we want to create a platform in our second round that allows us to actually consolidate specific education videos, gaming, and books that are essential to the learning level of that child. So what do we have currently today? Our MVP, our product we currently have right now is a girl-centric STEM book that has diversity, whether it's a middle early reader program, 50,000 words. This has all been done. In fact, we have a little sample.
Tiffany's father was a futuristic scientist. He worked on SpaceX's Mars exploration program.
So,
He loved spending countless hours learning from him.
so what we have is we took that into post-production, and we actually did an audiobook right here. So that has to be cleaned up. It's a 5-hour audiobook for children that maybe can't read or have the conditions, but audiobooks right now are trending, and so we actually produced that as well. Child programming such as this, you know, this is an area of interest that we actually talked to Comcast Universal this past week about, and it is a pitch for a process, an animation show. We're not going to actually produce that stuff ourselves. We can, but it's extremely costly. What we want to do is focus on what we know we can get accomplished right now. So, but we have the ability to actually produce our own animation and TV shows. This is the actual press coverage we had from our.
Well, today, local children helped shoot a movie trailer in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. It's for a film based on a book aimed at inspiring young girls. It's the first book of a trilogy titled Noonie and Medallions of Aragon. It follows Tiffany, a cancer survivor, as she goes on adventures with her friend Noonie. The story encourages girls to pursue STEM and teaches children that being different is beautiful.
Somewhere ahead on Action News.
So there's the action. These everybody in here.
Sounded like this when he might help someone. It's all right. In the meantime, let me tell about my new book. Noonie and the Medallions of Aragon.
It's a little hard to hear. So, but what we're doing is we're layering in media and promotion to generate awareness for what the brand is about.
Well, today, local children helped shoot.
I'm sorry. So how does our go-to-market strategy look like? Right now, Amazon Kindle is the major market player in the area. Ingram Sparks has a great revenue generating for bookstores, more on real-life retailers. They handle UK, Europe, Australia, so we can probably use them as well. Audible for the the audiobook. All our social media is going to be streamed through here for the marketing, which is mainly what we're coming here today for you. And one thing I did want to mention to people at the roundtable is that when you do invest in the book, we're going to be putting your company name in there and a link to your business site if you want, and that will be out in the marketplace for over a year and out forever, actually, really, for this one book. I just talked to Jerry over there. I mean, I love his idea when it comes to the medical relief, and what I plan on doing with Jerry's permission is that anybody who invests here in the roundtable today, if there's $10,000, we're doing $10,000 increments. $1,000 will go to Jerry's nonprofit to help relieve medical expenses for families. So that's one commitment I want to make to Jerry right here today. One thing we're seeing, it's important to actually understand how the market is working. You're seeing companies like Justice. So what Justice is doing is now doing publication for a children's book, and they're doing actually film projects for their demographic. So we're partnering with them to possibly have them produce the actual film for us, or animation project. But also what's important is that we're also going to do our merchandising through them eventually, okay? So what we want to do is we don't want to be creating products and have a heavy load of inventory going forward. We want to be the connection point and the licensing and the merchandising for other companies to make money on, and just do it that way. So the company actually is right now, it's going to be an entertainment and education platform, as I said. It's going to be shared revenue. This is actually more on the actual platform side, but we're going to monetize the product immediately. So we're actually going to monetize all the merchandising and books as soon as we launch it. And this is basically on the subscription basis, which our next round is going to be $5 million. And the closest competitor we have right now for that kind of product is probably YouTube Kids. Problem with YouTube Kids is right now their algorithm doesn't pick up on all the disparities in the videos, so you have a lot of filtering going through to the children that are not protected, by the parents' guides. So that's important for us to address. Average cost for the streaming platforms, lowest $8, $35. Ours is going to be $5. One of the influencers that we actually talked to, and we text messaged, and it was very kind to actually allow us to post it. His name is Jesse Itzler. He's the husband of CEO founder Spanx. And he was very nice for us to allow him to post our book on his site when we do launch it, which is very important. But other pre-launch categories like bloggers, content marketers, we're going to be building our lists, and then of course our social engagement, and our email list marketing, and the media coverage, which you saw here, which will do more of that as we go along with other nonprofit partners, right? So our launch category is really in line with ourselves, with our nonprofits, making sure we're not just so central on the digital side and generating costs for marketing, but we're really helping out nonprofits to fundraise for themselves and influence the market. And we're going to continue to do that. This is all basically going to be post, launch YouTube podcasts, subscription plans. We're going to keep going for that. Faith-based initiatives, I'll show you what's going to happen with connecting with those that channel there. Let's see here. So our first round, our angel round right now is $200,000, and that's going to be in increments of $10,000, and it's going to be the venture-based investment by the roundtable or other investors. So that strictly is going to be utilized for two things: marketing and merchandising development. So we can push, we can immediately monetize our e-commerce and our B2B site. So that's really where our focal point is at, because we already have a product, and the only cleanup we need to do is on the audiobook, on the post-production side. So our phase two, which is not really going to be discussed now, but forward-looking, it's going to be a $5 million venture to really solidify our platform for our streaming platform. It's definitely cool. We'll have definitely cause marketing around it. We're going to be engaged already with PBS Kids, Jim Henson, a lot of the already established production companies to bring their content aboard as well. We already had these discussions, and it's been pretty fruitful at this point in time. So in estimating, revenue, we are basically just going to give you some big broad strokes here. We know we can get to 70,000 users of buying the book. We believe we can probably push to 100,000 or more with our social media and our downstream of partners. But just taking a small number like 70,000, of the 70,000, 10,000 of those will be, or 80,000, 10,000 of those will be either subscription or they'll be purchasing a merchandise like a toy or a product from us. So our gross revenue for that is about $1 million, or $1.8 million. So our timeline for why we're doing all this. So we're going to finish our product line. We're actually at the product launch stage in September. We're going to develop the streaming education gaming platform in January of the next year, and then we're going to go for our seed round for $5 million. And then that's how we're going to progress the actual user base to about 200,000 users at that time. Heavily into marketing, heavily into digital. So, when we look at projections and spreadsheets, it's more of a guidance than anything else. We can't predict the future. We can give you to understand what it could be. So we're looking at the second year basically heavy into subscription-based, but if we look at just this one investment here, this is really how it's going to play out. We believe that this is a good estimate. I think it's a good conservative estimate. Average price of subscription of the book is going to be $14, and then we have probably a net of $155 at the end of the day. Where we're at forward thinking, this is where we're at. This is what it looks like going forward into next year. This here is our platform for bringing the kids into a physical world in a digital environment. But the platform itself, this one space is going to be e-gaming and entertainment facility. It's going to incorporate gaming, music, Kidzania, and a lot of things that we can engage youth in. So e-gaming competitions is all going to be part of the process. Let me see this, please. So yeah, that's really what the top of the building will look like for what we designed at this point in time. So that's really about it. Any questions? Thank you.